Welcome to Percussion Methods. Today, we are changing and tuning a drum set tom batter head. You're gonna need a new head, a standard drum tuning key, some white lithium grease, a few rags, a stick or two, and a permanent marker. You should replace a drum head when it's damaged, defaced, isn't holding pitch, or doesn't have the articulation or tone that you want. This head has a little bit of wear and the sound is getting dull, so it's time to replace it. The first step is to remove the old head. Take your standard tuning key and start at the tension rod closest to you. Then give it a full 180-degree turn to loosen it. Then go across the drum. Don't go in a circle. We don't want to pull the tension off of just one side of the drum. It's not great for the rim, the head, or the shell. So we're going to go across, loosen that a turn, and then we're going to move clockwise in pairs. I'm going to continue this process until all of the tension rods are very loose. Now that the tension rods are really loose, I can start to remove them with my fingers. Now that all the tension rods are out of their casings, you can remove the rim and set it somewhere where it won't get dirty. I'm going to put it on top of two music stands. Now you can remove the old head and throw it away or turn it into the world's worst Frisbee. With the old head and rim removed, check the interior of the shell for damage, any loose bolts, and clean it out if it's got any dirt or debris in it. To keep the tension rods moving smoothly, all of the casings should have a little bit of lubricant in them. Check to see if there's already any lithium grease in these casings, and if not, add a little bit. Next, take your fresh new head and set it on the shell. The location of the stamp doesn't really matter. I like to put it on the side where the bracket is, so I can always find it really easily if I need to adjust the tom. Take the rim and carefully set it back on the head. Try to avoid dragging the tension rods against the head because it might make it dirty. Finger tighten all of the tension rods. I like to tighten them until the very bottom of the rod is touching the rim. You might find that your fingers are getting greasy during this process, so it's nice to wipe that off on a rag as you go. Now that all the tension rods have been finger tightened, I like to take two of them on opposite sides of the drums and give them a little wiggle back and forth, just to make sure that the tension rod is centered on the rim. Throughout the tuning process, you want to make sure that the head is centered on the shell. It is possible that it might have a little bit of play back and forth if the shell isn't perfectly round. One way you can do this is to give a little bit of gentle pressure in the center of the head. That should pull everything toward the center evenly. Now that the new head is centered, you can take your drum key and do an initial round of adding tension. Starting with the tension rod closest to me, I'm going to give this 2 full turns. And then go across. Then from my first position, move clockwise. You might find that this next tension rod is fairly loose. I'll give it a little bit of an extra turn so that's touching the top of the rim, then go across to its partner. A little more gentle pressure in the center of the head to keep everything centered. I'm going to do that process one more time, but with just 1 full turn. Starting with the tension rod closest to me, across, then moving clockwise to the next pair, then clockwise to the next pair. It's normal while you're tuning up a drum that you'll hear some creaks and cracks. This is just the head adjusting to having tension put on it for the first time. It's normal, so don't worry about it. I'm going to continue adding tension in the same pattern until the batter head starts to have some pitch to it so I can clear it. Now that the batter head has been brought up to approximately the pitch we want, it's time to do the first round of clearing. Clearing is simply getting the head in tune with itself by checking all the tension rods and seeing if there's one that's too low. So we'll take our stick and start in the same position with the tension rod that's closest to us and give it a few taps. Noticing the pitch. The head sounds dissonant, so we're going to need to do a fair amount of clearing. That one's definitely too low, so we'll bring that up about half a turn. Still seems a little low. That one seems a bit low. I've been clearing this drum for a while now, so I'm going to compare the pitch of the batter head to the pitch of the resonant head. I'll do that by setting the drum on its side, muting the resonant head, then tap the batter head. Then the resonant head. I'm noticing that the resonant head is about a minor third higher than the batter head, which is great. That'll help give it a nice bright tone with nice attack. You can replace and tune the resonant, or the bottom head of the tom, in essentially the same procedure that we use for the batter head. The resonant head usually sits about a major second to a minor third higher. You can experiment with different types of tunings if you wish. And usually I only replace them if they're damaged, not holding pitch, or have been so stretched out that I can't really tune them up a whole lot more. This one's looking like it's in pretty good shape, so I'm going to leave it for now. The last step of the head changing process is to take a permanent marker and mark the month and year that you changed the head. This will help you assess how long a head has been on and whether you really ought to change it. So right now it's June 2023. So I'm gonna write 6/23 right above the stamp. It's fairly common for some new heads to sound a bit stuffy when you first put them on, and the pitch will sink a bit in the first few days that you play them. So you might need to go back and clear those heads to make sure they're getting the tone that you want. Now that we've got our new head tuned up, let's see what it sounds like. For the smaller drum set toms, I really like a Remo coated Emperor. It's a thicker than usual head, which gives a really nice blend of attack and sustain. It's also really durable, and the coating means it works great with brushes. You can certainly experiment with a thinner head like an Ambassador or maybe even a Diplomat if you want something that's brighter and more sensitive. You can also go for a more dampened sound with something like a coated pinstripe head, which adds a little bit of a muffling agent in between two plies of Mylar. Now that our new head is on and tuned up, we can put the tom back on the kit and get to practicing.